wanna speak while you're distracted by the levels you dare to climb. A straight shooter with nostalgia I haven't felt in a long while. You make it feel like it's the arcade when we're playing pixel out until the day breaks. We'll keep breaking down, let's hope the next play. Things change, the score is rising as the screen fades. Ain't over when you stay. Now who's that saying they're the pinball wizard? He moves too slow with his grubby little fingers. Keep pressing buttons and see what gets triggered. I'll just smile and watch him reconsider again.
Woo! What's going on? This is The Fight Guy, and I'm your host, Guy Pert. And today I'm going to be breaking down UFC 311, all the fights that occurred last night from the prelims up to the main event. It was a fantastic night of fights. Habib's disciple, not Islam, other disciple, undefeated, 18-0. Umar loses. 4 total undefeated fighters lose. A plus 700 underdog walks away with the victory and fraud checks Peyton Talbot. RDR finds a home in the UFC middleweight division. Jamal Hill getting meat put in his face 48 hours after talking about putting meat in somebody else's face.
Also, it'll be the other way. It don't matter. You just got to put some meat in their face. Pause.
What's for Renato Moicano?
Doesn't look good. Biggest loser of the press conference and biggest loser of the fight card. Let's get into it. I'm starting with the first fight on the early prelims. Tagir Ulanbekov against Clayton Carpenter. Look, I know he won 30-27 on 2 judges' scorecards, but I thought the fight was a little bit closer than that. Tagir, without a doubt, won that fight, but Clayton Carpenter looked very good as a young contender. I think, what is he, 25? I think he's about 25. He looked great. I think the only round that he won was round 2. Tagir, almost 7 minutes of control time, landed some more strikes, looking a little bit better, a little bit more ahead than Clayton on his feet, and definitely on the ground with the control time. But Clayton was busy the entire fight, always moving. He looked great off of his back. He was trying to escape, get his hips out, do what he needed to do, but the veteran got the best of him this time. I'm excited to see who both of these guys fight next. I will be following them. Next fight, Ricky Turcios and Bernardo Sapage. I had Bernardo winning this one, which he did, but Ricky is a tough son of a bitch. I gotta say that. The man fights like he just found out you girlfriend. Ricky, like I said, he fights like a madman, but it wasn't enough. He was always pressuring forward, just Sapage landing the cleaner strikes, got a little bit more control time. What really set this fight apart was the knockdown Sapage landed on Ricky in round 2. Nonetheless, getting the decision victory in the 3rd round. Rinya Nakamura against Muin Gafarov. This, I learned a lot about Rinya and his fight IQ and his ability and his non-ability to land any clean strikes. The guy is a wrestling champion from Japan. He has been wrestling his entire life, and he sure as hell didn't look like it. Very one-dimensional. He's only good at wrestling. His striking looked like dog shit. Gafarov, multi-dimensional fighter. He's got good grappling. He shut down Nakamura's only takedown attempt in the 3rd round, landed a lot of clean strikes, and just was in control the entire fight. Plus 500 before the fight. Gives the second undefeated fighter their first loss and just the 3rd fight of the card. We had Carol Rosa against Aylin Perez. Perez, as you can see here, she won the decision. It was a closer fight. Just Carol Rosa could not defend Perez's takedowns. I think she landed 2 of 8. She did put out a twerking post-fight maneuver. After she got the win. That's what the fans like to see. That's what ESPN Plus and Disney are paying for. Perez getting the decision against Carol Rosa, round 3. Grant Dawson against Diego Ferreira. Diego's a dog, but Grant Dawson did what Grant Dawson does. Diego was trying to wrestle with Dawson. Round 1 didn't work out too well. Grant did what he does to everybody else. Took him down, maintained top control, dealt damage. Diego looked good pressuring on his feet. He even had a sick jiu-jitsu transition early round 2, but you need more than that. to not end up on your back against a cage with Grant Dawson like a dog chained up in the yard. If Diego could have avoided the wrestling, we may have a different outcome. He was looking pretty feisty on his feet. Diego disregarded what his coaches have been telling him, or he just wasn't equipped enough to stop Dawson's takedowns. Dawson did what Dawson does, forced his wrestling and ground and pound for the decision win against Diego. This was a great fight. I'd like to see even who Diego fights next, but who do you give to Grant Dawson? Let's see his striking get tested more, because Diego was starting to be a little bit of a problem if he held up those takedown attempts, which he didn't. Bogdan Guskov against Billy Elikana. Billy stepped up a weight class for this, and you can tell, I think I mentioned that on Friday's video, you could just see the size differential right off the bat. You knew it wasn't going to be good for Billy. However, he did very well the first round. He took Guskov's back the entire first round pretty much. Nearly went to sleep at the end of the first round when Guskov reversed positions, locked in a rear naked choke, but I think Billy was aware of how much time was left in the round and could just keep enough pressure down on his chin to fight a few seconds. Other than that, if there was 5-10 more seconds in that round, I think he would have tapped earlier. So moving on to round two, little Billy could only hang in so long. Did get submitted round two via guillotine. He refused to get up off of a knee before he got submitted. It was very awkward. I think Guskov landed some body shots, something that winded him. He didn't look like he had the wind knocked out of him, but he looked like he was having a real hard time to catch a breath. He kept the knee down, so Guskov couldn't throw that illegal knee at him. He started to tee off, land some headshots, but he was covering up so much. Guskov just awkwardly looked at the ref, looked at the fighter, looked at the ref again, and sat on him, locked in a guillotine choke, made him hold his weight, and got him out of there round two. Props to Billy for taking the fight on a short notice. Also, first fight in the UFC. Also, a guy up a weight class from where you fight. So much respect to him there, especially with his ability to hold Guskov down the entire first round. That's not an easy thing to do with a guy that's bigger than you that cuts weight. Zachary Reese, Azamat Bekov. This was Azamat's first fight in the UFC. Still, he's a veteran, more of a veteran than Reese. Reese is a new contender from Dana White Contender Series. Yeah, Reese got taken down very early, but he had a nasty guard game. It was kind of exciting to watch. A lot of guys, when they get taken down, they'll comfortably sit in full guard for the rest of the round if they can, or a minute or two before they look for escapes. But not Zachary Reese. He got taken down early. He was using elbow strikes, trying to set up a rubber guard or some type of submission from full guard. So he was busy, but all of his moving around to control the posture and try to set up takedown or submissions, he left too many openings. He landed a couple shots that just rattled Zachary Reese's brain off of the canvas. The ref kind of interfered at the end before stopping the fight, but it was over before he stepped in. Zachary Reese loses TKO to Azamat Bekov. First win in the UFC. I'm excited to see what Azamat does next. Zachary Reese, his career's on the slopes right now. 2 nasty losses via TKO from Cody Brundage, then Azamat Bekov. We'll see what happens, Zachary. Last fight of the prelims. This was a shocker. Unless you watched Friday's video, where I told you that I wanted to see Peyton Talbot's grappling get tested. I did not think Raoni Barcelos would be the guy to test it. I thought an 11-year age gap would be a bigger driver in this fight, but it wasn't. Raoni even looked like the younger fighter this fight. Peyton was exhausted right off the bat. Peyton's grappling game got tested, like I mentioned on Friday's video. His grappling was just as weak as I suspected. Didn't think it would be that guy to do it. He was in a few positions round one where I think a lot of fighters would have given up. So I wouldn't put all of the blame on Peyton Talbot. I agree there is a lot of work he needs to do if he even wants to be a contender in this division, the bantamweight division. You got grapplers like Figgy, Corey Sandhagen, Umar, Merab, locking up the top 4. I don't even think his grappling is as good as Sean O'Malley's. Nonetheless, he has holes in his game that he needs to work on. He was standing up a lot that fight, like straight up and down, like it was a Muay Thai fight. You can't do that in MMA. I got JV wrestlers I know that live down the street that can take you down. if you want to stand straight up like that. So wasn't working for him. Raoni was mixing it up well. But like I said, this is where Peyton's corner failed him. It wasn't just Peyton's inexperienced and the things that he needs to work on. His corner gave him some pretty bad advice. After the first round, they were completely quiet about the grappling, just telling him to circle more and keep your hands busy. And then Peyton said, I'm trying, but I'm walking right into takedowns, something like that. He asked what he could do to avoid the takedowns. Like a good disciple, a good fighter asks their corners and their coaches for advice, and they make the adjustments live. Peyton asked the question, and his coaches said, don't even go down, just circle. That's like asking your teacher for help with this homework assignment, and they give you their picks for the Super Bowl. Like, what the f*** are you? Do you have money against the underdog here? The plus 700 defeats Peyton Talbot in dominant fashion. Dominated him the entire fight. You could see the judges' cards here. 30-27, 30-27, and a 30-26 for the plus 700 underdog, Raoni Barcelos. Kevin Holland versus Renier de Ridder. Where do I even start here? Round one, Renier finishes Kevin Holland via rear naked choke. I thought Kevin Holland would at least shut down one or two takedown attempts, but I mean, there was even a size differential looking at this. Kevin Holland notoriously fighting in between welterweight and middleweight. I remember I said Friday, when I say the word gatekeeper, I want Kevin Holland's face to be the first to pop into your brain at welterweight. Middleweight, this guy's not a middleweight. He needs to move on from the middleweight, go cut some real weight, go to welterweight where you fight guys that are your size. Renier de Ridder, he came over from one. I believe he fought at light heavyweight at one. And the guy that he fought here, Natalie, is a legitimate heavyweight. Yeah. Legitimate heavyweight. So this was an ex-light heavyweight fighting heavyweights, coming to the UFC, cutting the middleweight like you're supposed to. Kevin Holland doesn't want to cut any weight at all, and it hurts him in this fight. I'll tell you why. Kevin got taken down early. He did look pretty confident from the bottom. He was, doing his thing, talking shit, saying some stuff to RDR. RDR has no clue what you're saying. He's Danish, and you're in a sold-out stadium. Nonetheless, RDR, landed a second takedown pretty early in the first round, and that just was enough for Kevin Holland to get submitted. You got a way bigger guy on your back. It kind of looked like he gave up he moved his chin up, gave up the rear naked choke. Loses round one. What's next for Kevin Holland? Welterweight. You need to go down to welterweight, and we'll see what's up, brother. Give RDR Paul Craig. I want to see Paul Craig and Renier de Ridder. I think Paul Craig's striking is a bit better, and he's got a fantastic ground game that didn't get exposed in the Bo Nickel fight. We know RDR is going to shoot. Bo Nickel wants to prove that he can do more than just wrestle, so I understand him wanting to stand on his feet and strike with Paul Craig. But Renier de Ridder, Paul Craig needs to be the next fight. You need to book that ASAP. Hailton Almeida against Sergey Spivak. I don't have many notes on this one. It ended round one. There was some good grappling exchanges by both guys, back and forth. They landed pretty much the same strikes. The difference here is the strikes that Almeida landed knocked Sergey out. You could see it was a stoppage by punches with 7 seconds left in round one. I want to see Almeida take on Cyril Gane. As for Spivak, there's a dozen other guys. Give him Derek Lewis or something. I don't know. I don't really care. But Almeida, give him Cyril Gane. If he can take Gane down, I want to see how much progress Gane has made in the grappling world, especially after that ragdoll performance by John Jones. Just dragged him down. I want to see if Almeida can do the same thing. Maybe give him a contender spot. But let's move on to the three-headed dragon, the last three fights of the card. These were all main event caliber fights. We'll start with the Yuri Prohaska Jamal Hill fight. This was a fantastic fight. Both guys had their moments. There was times where I thought Yuri was going to sleep. There was definitely times where I thought Jamal Hill was going to sleep. And at the end of the fight, that definitely was the case. But Yuri, what did I notice about this fight? Yuri was leaving his hands low a lot. That was causing him to get caught. He got caught hard in the first 90 seconds, with Hill winning most of the exchanges. 2 minutes left of the first round. Yuri drops Jamal. Left hook rocked him. Jamal was reaching a lot. DC pointed that out. So I think, Yuri overcame adversity and he landed more damage in the first round. It looked like Jamal Hill was just trying to survive the last 2 minutes. So Yuri wins the first round. I noticed, for all night the crowd was chanting USA, USA, USA every time an American fought. Jamal Hill was the first American that actually was just actively getting booed the entire fight, even after the fight. What can I say? Jamal Hill, 48 hours after saying, sometimes you got to put meat in their face. You get meat put in your face. Pause. Let's move on. The rest of the fight, like I said, Jamal Hill, I think he won the second round. He landed more shots, cleaner shots. Yuri was moving so unique. It got hard for Jamal to land hits as he got gassed. The only, Yuri's style is so unique. It's kind of like Sean Strickland's, Philly shell. Not a lot of fighters can just fight out of that. You can't take a lot of fighters that they can't just watch Sean Strickland fight a 5-round fight or 3-round fight that goes to decision and say, I'm going to copy that strategy. It's kind of like that with Yuri. The way that he moves is so unorthodox, and what he throws at you, you just never know what's coming. His hands are always down low and out to the side, moving around like he's talking to a newborn baby. It was hard for Jamal to land in the third round. In an unbelievable pursuit, Yuri walks away with the TKO win a little bit more than halfway through the third. Broke the curse of the buzz cuts tonight. That's right. Last night, there was 3 fighters that buzzed their hair before 3:11. It was Zachary Reese, Peyton Talbot, and Yuri Prohaska. Peyton Talbot, Zachary Reese, both losing, and Yuri redeeming the buzz cuts for the night. It was a fantastic fight. Let this be a warning to grown men everywhere with a man bun. Don't do it. Buzz it off. You're a warrior. Let's move on to the co-main event. This fight was absolutely fucking fireworks. I mean, Merab Davishvili against Umar Nurmagomedov. I thought Umar was going to do a little bit better this fight than he did. I was shocked, to say the least. This fight was electric. I was shocked at the conditioning of Merab, really. I almost said that I was shocked to see Umar gas out after the third round, but who wouldn't be? I mean, looking at the stats here, you could see Merab shot 30 takedown attempts and he landed 7. That's a little bit less than 1 in every 4 takedowns that you shoot, you land. Against a guy, Umar Nurmagomedov, who has not been taken down once in the last 7 fights. Have landed 30 more strikes because of the control that he had. He was fighting out of a wide southpaw stance. Merab came out in an orthodox, and as anybody knows about an orthodox and a southpaw fight matchup, especially if both of the fighters have top-level takedown defense and grappling abilities, it's going to be a powder keg. It's fireworks. And it was. Big right hand by Umar almost dropped Merab. It looked like 20 seconds left of round 1. Khabib was telling Umar, the second round, pretty much the same. Umar landing the cleaner of the strikes. After the second round, this is where things got very interesting and momentum started to shift. After the second round, Khabib told Umar, you are only going to wrestle now. That's because his corner and everybody watching the fights knew Umar won the first 2 rounds. Probably part of the game plan. You're going to win the first 2 rounds. You're going to go out there and wrestle him, try to see, how much you can get away with in the ground game and come out with one of the last 3 championship rounds. So that was the game plan for Umar. Going in the third was to secure a takedown. Keep that in mind. Going in the third round, Merab took Umar down briefly. 1 minute into the third, Umar immediately getting up. But like I told you to remember, that put an axe in Khabib's game plan, right? If your game plan is to take this guy down and control him, 1 minute into the round, the guy takes you down. You're like, oh, it slows down your game plan now. Now your striking slows down a little bit. You're more worried about all these level changes and all these takedown attempts Merab's throwing at you. It worried so much that Umar did not get a takedown attempt in until 2 minutes left of the third round. And this is right where Merab took the momentum and sucked the life out of Umar. They're tied up against the cage. This is where Merab, like I said, takes the momentum. He's emoting. He's talking to the commentating team. Like, oh, hey, oh, what should I do? DC is giving Merab advice. Merab instantly takes the advice, circles on the cage, puts Umar against the back. It was fun to watch after here. Umar did take him down at the end of the third, emoting to the crowd almost the entire last minute. Merab, he gets taken down. I thought that would be enough to maybe lose the fight for him because that third round was so close. But Merab's emoting. He's getting stronger. It's almost like he had a twin brother in the back that they swapped out before the third round. It looked like a completely new guy. He was just fresh. He was warming up. As Umar was slowing down, Merab was speeding up. Emoting the entire last minute, gets taken down. I thought, with some prick judges, that could be a robbery. But they held faithful. Going into the fourth, Khabib's corner was scolding him, Umar, for dipping his head or something like that. I think that this was just frustration. I think that Khabib's team, their game plan got axed, and their game plan usually works against everybody, but not the machine. He was arguing, Umar and him going back and forth, arguing about something, dipping his head, something like that. You can feel that the energy and momentum has shifted from Eagles MMA over to Merab's corner. Merab looking levels ahead of Umar in the championship rounds. Umar, he was looking gassed. Merab, in the fourth round, ties George St. Pierre for the most takedowns landed in fights, which was 90. I think he did break this record after the fight was over. Fifth round. All Merab's shots, he throws this overhand. He ducks after he throws it straight to his shot attempt. This was a very busy round for Merab. I don't know how many takedowns he shot this round. I think maybe even 10. I'd have to look. Merab sprinting around, emoting at the end. It was an incredible display by Merab. I think he is the GOAT of the bantamweight division. He's cleaned everybody out. I mean, from a loser of the press conference to winner of the fight of the night, I'm very impressed with Merab. I don't know who he can take. What's next for him? I mean, unless he wants to cut weight and go down and fight Pantoja at flyweight, I think that would be a very entertaining fight. I think that Merab gets to, be comfortable for most of the rest of the year. He doesn't have to do anything. As for what's next for Umar, I'd say we give him the winner of Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. If not, another rematch at the end of the year, I think would be a fun fight to see, especially, letting the best coach in the world, Khabib, just tailor up everything that went wrong with Umar's side. To the main event, Islam Makhachev versus Renato Money Moicano. Moicano got submitted round one. We knew this was going to happen. Now, it was a special night. 4 undefeated fighters lost. I get that. I get that right before the Islam fight, Umar loses. So that was a big hit for, Khabib's team. I don't know how that affected them, if at all. It was a magical night. People were fraud checked. Underdogs were winning. There was a lot of things happening. So, you felt like Moicano had a chance, especially with how the fight started. Moicano was pressuring Islam right off the rip, throwing some kicks to the body. He landed, some clean inside calf kicks. He was looking pretty confident. And then about a minute into the fight, Moicano lands, it looked like he landed a very hard overhand right that dropped Islam. But what had actually happened, I think it just nicked him, if anything, and Islam tripped over his back foot. Here, the crowd starts chanting money. Money, money, money. That you think that this is Moicano's night. Immediately after Islam trips and recovers, he takes Moicano down and submits him via Darce choke. The same choke that he got Poirier with. It was interesting. He locks this up from grabbing just right below his wrist. He doesn't even have to get that deep with it anymore. It's something different that they're doing. It's a different type of grip that he's got down packed. But it was almost an instant submission. Moicano tapped out instantly. I'm happy Moicano got paid. Hate to see him lose, but I'd love to see him win his next fight and see who they give him next. Dana White admits after this fight that Islam is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, ahead of John Jones, so that was a big moment. That's the technical breakdown for UFC 311. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's get into the Fight Guys 2025 bingo card of the year. All right, so for my bingo card, let's see. I don't believe any in the top right hit. Tony Ferguson, in fact, did not retire. Colby Covington didn't fight. No anti-Trump call-out. John Anik was on his good behavior last night, so none of those hit. What did hit was the plus 500 or greater underdog winning. We had 2 of those last night. The first was Rinya losing, the undefeated Japanese national wrestling champion that did not wrestle. And Peyton Talbot losing to Raoni. Raoni was a plus 700 underdog, so that hit. And the only other one that I see here is Habib coached fighter loses. It looks like if I cover up the Habib coached fighter loses, Michael Bisping correcting Lorisenko, that'll definitely hit. Body slam KO, we can get one of those this year. Main event misses weight. Oh, surely. So I'm gonna cover up the Habib coached fighter loses. Yeah, there we go. We'll cover that one up. So this will be my first bingo space entry. Like I said, if I get a bingo, I will spar a contracted UFC fighter by the end of the year. But yeah, if I hit, it looks like, I think that this one could hit. Again, if you're following this, you can cover up the plus 500 or greater underdog winning or Habib coached fighter losing. I don't know when the next time, if that will happen this year. All right, that'll do it for The Fight Guy, Episode 2, my technical breakdown of UFC 311, as well as my bingo card, The Fight Guy bingo card of 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe if you enjoy the content, want to see fighter interviews, special segments to come in the future, and better technical breakdowns as we get better at this. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Guy, and sometimes you gotta just...
You just gotta put some meat in their face. Pause.
What's for Renato Moicano?